What's going on? Welcome to the Dice Tower chat. This is a chat where we're going to be hanging out with everyone, trying to keep things super positive and keep our mind off the news a little bit, but just have a good time. I'm Roy Candy. I am the full-time editor here at the Dice Tower. I edit all of Tom's reviews and then edit and do and run a lot of our live shows that we do as well. And with me today, I have a special guest, which is Emerson Matsuuchi, who is the designer of Spectre Ops and the Century series and lots of awesome games. What's going on, Emerson?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
But yeah, just make sure to leave questions down below and we will take a look at those. But yeah, we're super excited to have you here to talk about all sorts of different stuff. So yeah.
Cool. What's the
Um,
first thing?
what is the
Anything on the
first
agenda?
thing? What should we do here? We don't have too many questions yet. But hey Emerson, how have things been going? I know we both went to Dice Tower West.
Yes,
Um,
that was actually quite a bit of fun. And it was in Las Vegas,
mhm,
and I still had some family out there, so I got a chance to visit some family while I was there.
mhm.
It was a good time. It was a great show, really relaxing, lots of game playing. So if you're looking for a convention to go to where it's all about playing the games, that was a great time. And you get to see pretty much the entire Dice Tower staff there too.
Which I guess happen to be a part of now. So woo.
Yeah.
I love these Dice Tower conventions just because we get so much game playing done as opposed to other conventions, you know. Um, so it's really fun because at this one specifically, it was like we had people who were running the library. Sometimes we have to run the library and make sure everybody's having a great time. We have to be like super hosts. This times we got to be hosts by making sure to like hang out with people and play games with all sorts of different fans and different stuff like that. So cool. I guess I'm gonna ask this question here. Let's see,
All right.
Emerson, do you have a favorite game of the ones you have designed? And Roy, do you have a favorite game of Emerson's designs?
All right. So should I go first?
Yes, you go first
I
since
have a
you're first in
soft
the
spot
question.
for Spectre Ops.
Gotcha.
So that's like the one game that I really enjoy, and I would never turn down if anyone wanted to play that with me.
Gotcha. Funny that you ask, or funny that you say that, because my favorite game of yours is Spectre Ops. I really enjoy the game a lot. I don't think I've never actually played you in the game. Man, that would be an accomplishment, like to play you in Spectre Ops, and whichever side I'm on, figure out how to
Yes.
best you. Because I mean, I know you. You're very like you know like the math and all the stuff, and you know what to do. But it's like, how can I outsmart this guy? That would be fun. That would
Right.
be fun.
Yeah. I think you answered Daryl's question maybe.
Which was that question?
So he's asking, which game of mine do you think you have the best chance at beating me at?
Oh, I should put that up. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Cool.
Hey, Crystal's here.
Um. Uh. I don't know. I almost feel like it would have to be slightly luck based, um, or maybe a game where I can talk people into ganging up on you.
Hmm,
But you don't
okay.
have many of those. Um,
Crossfire.
oh, Crossfire.
That's
Yeah.
cross.
I mean, I feel like maybe I have beat you in a game of Crossfire before because
You definitely have.
we
Yeah, you
played it,
definitely.
and I mean, just the fact that it's a team game. Sometimes your team will be weaker than others. Sometimes just the information that gets shared in that game will be stronger or weaker than others. So it makes it hard to always win, depending on how things play out.
Yeah, I think in one of those games you convince everyone to shoot me.
That I think that should just be the goal in
Yeah.
most of the games, right? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, if anybody doesn't know, I've had Emerson on my old podcast a ton of times. I've also had Emerson on Spaces Between, and I follow him around at conventions sometimes, you know.
Mhm.
Tom Bassel today accused me of being an Emerson fanboy because I put two Emerson games on a top 10 list, which I don't think is fair because he is also an Emerson fanboy, so whatever.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh,
Yeah.
Daniel is asking, what is our favorite game mechanics? You want to go first on this one?
Hmm. If I just had a single game mechanic to pick, I don't know. deterministic combat that is puzzly, which I guess is hard to be just a straight up mechanic. Like there's lots of different combat mechanics, but I
You could
really
say
enjoy
deterministic combat.
deterministic combat that is determined by player choice, where you have to think about what the other players are doing in that combat. Like there's two different
Something
games
like
that can come
Scythe.
to mind. Like
So would you say Scythe is an example where
Scythe
each?
is an example, but it was
Okay.
originally done in Dune as well. So very much like
Yes.
that bidding combat wheel thing of like they're gonna spend this much resources, I'm gonna spend that much resources. What should I do? How should I do it? I
Right.
grew up playing Dune, and I really enjoyed that. And me and Emerson actually just recently played Dune at Dice Tower West.
Yes.
That was a crazy game.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
many chances for us to win, and um, we didn't 100% get it right, but we finally did it on like the fourth try.
Right. Yes.
Um,
That was a lot of fun. It was a
but
lot of
also in
fun.
Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, there's very deterministic combat as well that depends on what your opponent plays, and that's like my favorite game of all time. I just like. I think it's interesting when there's combat that could go either way, but there actually is a right answer. You just have to play against what your opponent is thinking in their head. So
Hmm.
I don't know how you describe that mechanic exactly, but I guess it's just deterministic combat. But it's a little bit more than that. It's not. I guess it is very similar to Game of Thrones as well, because that's very much like you have these numbers, but then
Right.
they're
Yeah.
going to play a certain house card, and you're not quite sure what they're going to play.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's there's a little bit of hidden information there. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
deterministic combat, player choice, and hidden information.
Hmm.
I
What would
mean,
you
I
say
enjoy.
is your favorite game mechanic, Emerson?
It would have to be the conveyor belt.
Mm.
So the mechanism in Spice Road, where the way you get the
Hmm.
cards, the way you acquire them, we've among my circle of friends, we've been calling that the conveyor belt. And I've been
Gotcha.
putting it in a lot of my designs. And in fact, Reef used to have a conveyor belt, but Plan B says, no, you've used the conveyor belt already. Let's do something a little different.
You're
So
like, if it's an Emerson game, it should have a conveyor belt. Come on.
it always starts with a conveyor belt, and then the publisher will usually take it out somehow.
When you
So
said
actually,
conveyor
some
belt, the
people have
first
been
thing I thought
asking
of
about
was Robo Rally. I'm like, Robo Rally, what? No, not the same thing.
similar. Um, oh, some people were asking, since we're talking about Century, some people were asking about Century when the third one is coming out, the third Gollum edition one. And that
Hmm.
one, I believe, will be at Origins or Gen Con, probably, most likely Gen Con. This year was what was planned. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that schedule still remains. And someone was asking if there's a chance for a big box version that combines all three. I I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if Plan B does something like that, like a
Hmm.
a collector's box, kind of like how I have a box set of the Game of Thrones books. So it comes in like a nice cardboard box, and you could slide the books in. So maybe something like that. It wouldn't
That
surprise
would
me
be
if they
awesome.
had something like that.
I think speaking of Century,
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good time to announce that we actually have a giveaway for this broadcast that we're having here today. Plan B has been kind enough to say that they're going to send out a game of one of the Century games to a winner. You have to be part of this live show, so we're just gonna announce the winner near the end somewhere or during the shows at some point. But if you are interested in joining, just or entering the contest, email me at roy@dicetower.com and then put in the subject line Century, and then actually in the body of the email, I need the Century game that you would like Plan B to have if you win the prize, because they said it could be Century Spice Road, or it could be Eastern Wonders, or it could even be Gollum Edition. It can't be the new Gollum Edition that isn't out yet, because it has to be in stock. But,
Yeah.
Um, but
Right.
and also leave your address in the email as well, and then I will pick one of those near the end of the show, and one of you guys could be a winner. And thanks so much to Plan B for hooking us up. I said, "Hey, I'm having Emerson on the show," and they were nice enough to make this happen. So we
Yes.
love Century.
Yes.
So
Yes. Thank you, Plan B, for that.
awesome.
Heikai is got a good point. Double blind bidding combat is not really deterministic. Yeah, you're. That's probably correct in that it isn't
Yes.
completely deterministic. You don't have all the information, but it's along the same veins.
Mm-hmm.
How many times a week should someone working from home shower?
I
That
mean,
depends on
I
who
don't
you're
think I
living
would
with.
change up my showering routine just because I'm
Yeah,
working
I
from
think I would
home.
still do the same showering routine.
Yeah.
Crystal got a chance to play one of my prototypes at Dice Tower West, and that's definitely one that I'm fairly excited about. So, but I do have some other stuff in development that I am excited about, but I can't talk about those quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Um, let's see.
is there a board game that you can think of that could be easily played at a distance? Dodgeball? But that's not really a board game.
uh,
Hmm.
it was funny because today on our top 10, we were talking a little bit about drafting games, and they were talking about Seven Wonders. And I
Hmm.
said Magic did drafting before Seven Wonders did,
Right,
but
right.
if you really want to go back to the real pain of drafting, it's dodgeball.
That's
Uh,
true.
oh, here
Board
you
game
go. Here's
at a
your
distance.
best question right here. Any
Uh,
news on the Spectre Ops app ever getting
oh,
released? I know you
mhm,
love this question.
yes. So, well, now that Plaid Hat is its own entity again, it's definitely making that an interesting question, which I will probably talk about at a later point.
Hmm.
So, the conveyor belt mechanic is not the official term that Jeff Engelstein uses. I believe he says it is a variation on the Dutch auction, which I can see, but don't completely agree with that terminology. But I
I think
can
you should
see.
send a strongly worded email to Jeff.
Well, the funny thing is that actually a couple of days ago, a friend of mine, his name's Tammy, he's also a designer as well, and that came up in a conversation where he wanted to use a term for that so that he can kind of refer back to it. And he says he's just been calling it the Spice Road Market. So, but I've been calling it the conveyor belt just because that's sort of the term that my group's been using for that.
Hmm.
But it's definitely nothing official. It is a variation of an auction. I'm not
Right.
sure if it is a Dutch auction though, but it is definitely an auction. So Jeff Engelstein is absolutely correct about that.
So,
So
Star Wars Indiana says, now that we have both Unmatched and Funko dueling games, what
mhm.
characters would you most be interested in seeing for either game? I would love to see Star Wars or Ant-Man. I'm stoked for Jurassic Park, which Jurassic Park is actually going to be in both games, which is actually super exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
you
surprised he's
know,
not saying Indiana Jones. Come on.
you know what I would actually love to see is actually characters that we have in games such as like Mage Wars
Hmm.
or like the fighters in BattleCon Level 99's game or the summoners from Summoner Wars. I think that would be really, really cool.
You think it'd be cool to see um, characters from other IPs of board games coming
Yes,
into these games?
yes.
I think I think we should see a Tom Bassel Funko or a Tom Bassel thing, so that way we could have all these
Yes,
other characters beat up on Tom. That would be great. No, I'm
that
kidding.
would be that would be pretty cool.
I mean, the hat item would obviously be important. That
Yes.
all the different characters could trade around in Funkoverse.
Yeah.
Now, what IP would I want to see the most? Uh, I mean, my always go to IP, being serious, is Lord of the Rings, which I'm sure would be hard to do, because other people
Right.
have those IPs. But there are Lord of the Rings Funkos all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would have to buy that set. Like, if they came out with the, like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings version, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get this one.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
So actually playing via Skype. So Dr. Mass says he's playing Star Wars Destiny via Skype. That's also another way. Going back to the
Hmm.
question about how can you play board games at a distance.
Hmm.
So actually, in fact, we do some of our play testing through Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I know some people use Tabletopia. In fact, I think we're trying to set something up to be able to do remote testing. And it's a way to get more blind testing, more iterations on a design, and so forth. So, so that's
I've
been
played Marvel Champions over Skype with Marty from Rolling Dice Taking Names before. There's a video of that on the channel, And I mean, a lot of those small card games can easily be played. I've played Ashes before over Skype, which was fun.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
And of course, Tabletop Simulator is great for a lot of that different stuff. I actually downloaded Tabletop Simulator on my new computer and was messing around with it a little bit. And I pulled up like Marvel Champions and was trying to mess with it. And I'm just like, I just need to get better with the interface, so I'm not
Yeah.
randomly flipping the table and throwing cards off the side.
Yeah. Well, it's got an undo button, thankfully, so you
Yes,
can
and
undo
I
it
definitely
in
utilize
case
the
you
undo button when I
lose
mess
the
up.
table.
Yeah, I know there's shortcuts to like make decks merge together easier and stuff like that. When I had pulled open Marvel Champions, it had all the decks and pieces, and it's like, oh man, I have to build a deck before I can play this game.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah. Let's see. What are your favorite Easter eggs you've spotted in the games you've played? Hmm. Easter eggs in games that we've played. I can't think of any good Easter eggs. In the board game world, it's a little more rare to see an Easter egg.
Yeah, I know they
Uh,
have stuff like inside they have Thor and Santa Claus on the board and stuff like that.
right, right.
Um,
Yeah, I can't
I
think
don't
of
know.
any other good Easter eggs.
I always think it's
That's a good question.
interesting
I'm
when
gonna
a
have to like
when a
really think
publisher
about
puts
it.
something underneath the insert that's hidden or something like that. That's always
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, if it's something like that, one of my favorite one is in Imperial Settlers. If you actually
Hmm.
open up the insert, there's like two little ninjas that are on the insert. There's artwork on the insert. It's like all grassy, and then you lift up one side, and there's and on the side of the insert, which you're normally never going to see, right? There's two little ninjas there that says, "Oh, they've discovered us," or something like that. I thought that was
That's
super cute.
awesome.
It is super super cute. I don't have my copy of Imperial Settlers. It's upstairs in my Primo cabinet.
Yeah, that's actually a really good Easter egg. So,
Yeah. So let's see. Luigi's Mansion. Wow, that's a game I haven't heard in a while. Uh,
yeah, my wife's been playing a bunch of the Luigi Mansion for the Switch, the new one that came out. So I think she just played through most of it.
yeah, actually, anime IP for Funkoverse would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like a Trigun. I'd play Bash the Stampede. I don't know if you've seen that one or not, but
Yeah.
good stuff.
Let's see. All right. Someone's asking me, what does your typical process while creating a board game? So this one is probably a longer answer. So I'll see if I
Hmm.
can give the TLDR, which is that you start with an idea, and then I want to quickly make a prototype of it to really see if it works. So that's my proof of concept stage.
Hmm.
Once I see that the concept, okay, if the concept has potential, then I'll start iterating it, play testing it, and then I reevaluate again whether it still has the potential and it feels like it's a design that's special. If so, then I'll start to polish it and then get it ready to be able to show to a publisher.
Gotcha.
Once I show it to a publisher, if I hopefully at that point a publisher would be interested in it, then we work with the publisher. Usually, they have a developer that will then take the design and work with me to really polish it further, and then also have it fit within their product line. If I get a lot of the publishers to turn it down, then I might revisit it. I might put it on the shelf, or I might revisit
Hmm.
it later. But usually, that's been the process that I've been going through.
How
So,
hardcore is that pitching part for you? Because I know, like at all these conventions, you're doing pitches quite often. Um,
yeah. Actually, most of the time, I I guess I use the pitch as also just a way to kind of gauge what kind of games that the publisher is looking
mhm.
for too. So, I'll present a game and usually I'll strip it down. I won't have much of a theme on there because oftentimes they'll want to put a particular game in a certain theme. So I try to make it as theme agnostic as possible, or just have a theme just to demonstrate how the game works and how the game can be tailored to particular themes. So, like for instance, I had a city building game which was just modern city building, but you could turn it into a game about building Rome.
Hmm.
So, um, so yeah, I do quite a few pitch meetings at conventions, and usually I just have a handful of publishers that I really approach for that.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and it seems like I got another question. How did you get started in
Yeah.
game designing? What was the
Yes.
inspiration?
What
I guess
was your
I've always
inspiration?
I guess I've always loved games, so that's always been a big part of my life was games, and I always liked the process of creating games, and it's something that I remember saying to my wife that if I retire one day, I'd like to just sit and design games.
Hmm.
So that's always been something I wanted to do. So in fact, most of my education, like I learned how to do computer programming, 3D modeling, animating, rigging, all that stuff. And I went through pretty much the disciplines of how to create, like, say, a video game. So I was always like into games, and I'm still, quite a bit into video games as well. So, but I do, in terms of design, I love the design constraints of a board game. Like, what
Hmm.
kind of fun can you create with physical components? So, it's always a really, really interesting challenge. So, I hope that answers that question. See another one.
Nice. Um, John says that he just finished book three of the Stormlight Archive and also needs another good book series to read. Hmm. Any book recommendations?
I still got Game of Thrones and Dune. Still need to finish reading.
That yeah, Dune is one that I need to get through because
Yeah,
I've been listening to the audiobook a little bit, but I haven't made it all the way through some of them, so
yeah,
I need to
yeah.
check that stuff back out.
So on my to-do for reading list is Game of Thrones, Dune, and now Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I have those on my to-do list at the moment.
Gotcha.
So,
Nice.
but as in terms of recommendations, so I don't know. I'm not a big reader, unfortunately. Hey,
Well, so
Kabuki Kid's on. What was a
Kabuki
game that I
Kid.
loved as a kid? And what? Ooh, a hobby game that I loved as a kid. I don't know if you guys remember a game called Shogun. It went through a couple of different
Hmm.
names. It was called Samurai Swords at some point, and I believe the current incarnation is called Ikusa. So,
Yes.
but at that time it was called Shogun, but not to be
Hmm.
confused with Shogun the Queen games with the Cube Tower.
Hmm.
So, but that game I really really loved. So, but the one that got me into modern game was, I know this is stereotypical, but it was Settlers of Catan. So that's the game that I bought, and it was from watching the Dice Tower that I
Hmm.
bought this game because I saw Tom's enthusiasm. I said, I'm gonna check this out, and bought it, brought it over to my friend's place. We played it. Then we all, after we were done, we all looked at each other and says, "Hey, let's play that again. That was a lot of fun." So then after that, I got Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne. Then I fell down that rabbit hole.
Nice. Since Kabuki Kid said Emerson, since obviously Kabuki Kid already knows all the games that I like, so
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
he's
It's
a
fine,
regular.
Kabuki. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but yeah, I grew up playing Stratego a lot. I really enjoyed Stratego. I don't know. That was one of the first games that was very like I don't know. I really enjoyed the fact that you could hide your flag in certain areas and there was a strategy to how you laid it out at the beginning, and then
Hmm.
trying to like discover your opponent's stuff as a kid. And then
Yes.
I played a lot of games that I guess would be considered hobby games because my dad grew up playing a lot of war games. But the game that made board gaming become my hobby, I'd played tons of stuff. I'd played the Settlers of Catan and Carcassonne and Betrayal at House on the Hill and Bang and all sorts of different stuff. But the thing that like made me get stuck in board games was definitely Battlestar Galactica. So
Yeah, that's a good one.
just
That's a good.
because the fact that playing this semi like cooperative thing with traders and stuff like that, and I've just still really enjoyed that style of game. And then I played like Shadows over Camelot and Arkham Horror and all that stuff, and I
Yeah.
really like those thematic games.
Yeah. If a conveyor belt is my favorite mechanic, close second would be the trader mechanic. I
Mm.
I really enjoy that. Actually, Robin Censure has a question. Any tips of how you can learn a super hard game like Robinson Crusoe? It's Robinson Crusoe is a big game, but it's not too bad. The way I learned it was I actually just set up the game and I actually just played it because it's a cooperative game. You could do this with any cooperative game, so you could just play it solo. Just have, in fact, I think you can play that one solo. But I picked two characters,
Hmm.
and I just played through just with those two characters until I kind of got the idea of the flow, and that made it a lot easier to teach other people because I've had experience of playing it.
Do you normally like work hard to make sure you know a game before you bring it to other people, or do you normally like do rules on the fly sometimes?
So if it's a game that I want to bring and it's a game I want to play at game night, then I make sure I know the rules and I'm
Mm-hmm.
prepared to teach it. So I try to learn it inside and out so I can answer any questions. But a lot of times I'm the guy that gets handed the rule book. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times people will bring new games, break open the shrink, we'll punch things out. As everyone's punching it out, I'll grab the rule book and I'll start reading the rule book
Mm-hmm.
and teach it from the rule book. So I've done that probably more often.
I always in like I always make sure I know the game well so that I can teach the game with barely really having to look at the rule book at all, so that way I can just go through it. I feel like one of Tom's superpowers is that he can just look at a rule book, skim it, and then get the rules kind of right, and it makes it pretty awesome that he can just be like, all right, how we play this? This is how you play, you know. But that just
Yeah.
comes from playing so many games. But there is that.
Uh, okay, Kabuki Kid's got a really cool question. Have I finished Death Stranding? Yes, yes, I have. And it is absolutely brilliant. It is Hideo Kojima's masterpiece. It is really good.
That's
So,
awesome.
but is it my all-time favorite video game? That's a really, really tough question because I have quite a few favorite video games. But if I had to judge it based on how much time I've spent in it, it might be World of Warcraft. Although I don't
Mm.
play a whole lot of World of Warcraft as much anymore, or I play very more on a casual basis once in a while. Uh, but yeah, Metal Gear was always one of my favorite series of
Oh, for
games.
sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you, Roy? Have you been playing any video games?
Um, I actually started up playing Breath of the Wild a little bit. I need to get back into it. My
Oh, okay,
kids
that's it.
accidentally deleted my save file, so I'm having to start back over on Breath of the Wild. Um, but and then before that, I played a lot of the new Sword and Shield Pokemon game. So, you know, so I
Uh,
don't know. I always enjoy Pokemon. I know it's probably something that people that are of a younger generation enjoy, but I grew up playing Red and Blue, and I just enjoy like the JRPG, but with these wacky different monsters with different powers and stuff. So,
all right. Are you excited for the Final Fantasy VII remake?
I don't have a because that's going to be PlayStation, right?
Yes, I believe
Yeah, so
so.
I don't think I'm going to be able to play it because I don't have a PlayStation at all. I basically only have a Switch as far as the new systems go. So.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
But
Yeah.
I am excited that it's coming out because it looks really good. So,
It,
and of
it
course, Final
looks it
Fantasy VII is
looks
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Ah,
It's a
awesome.
it's a
So,
let's see.
Ed Wilder says favorite type and game of that type of dexterity games between flicking or stacking.
Oh, okay.
What dexterity games do you like, Emerson?
Dexterity games. I like a lot of different dexterity games. So flicking like flick 'em up. Really like flick 'em up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the Dead of Winter version. That one's really cool. That one's
Oh
fun
yeah.
because it's got the co-op and it's also got a co-op trader mode and
Mm-hmm.
that one's a really good one. And I also enjoy stacking games like Junkard. I think Junkard is like one of the best stacking
Mm-hmm.
games. So coincidentally, they're both from the same company.
Yep.
But well, let me think of some other dexterity games.
For me,
There's
I really
also
enjoy the stacking game of Rhino Hero and Rhino Hero Super Battle. I don't know, it's just
yes,
something about
yeah,
the stacking in that is just always a blast, and holding
yeah,
your breath to try to stack this giant card tower. It's just, I've
yeah.
had so much fun playing with my game group and with my kids that I've just really enjoyed Rhino
Another
Hero.
another really good flicking game is Dino Dunk. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but that
I've
one's a
heard
really
of
good
it,
one.
but I haven't actually played.
Yeah, that one's really good. That one's really good. It's got it looks like it's a kids game, but in and kids can play it, but it's got some really interesting depth for gamers too. So I think it's a really well done game.
And of course, Pitch Car is awesome when you have the gigantic track with all sorts of craziness like
Yep, yep.
Tom always builds. It's always fun to see those loops and turns and curves and hills and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. So,
hmm, what else do we
what
have?
theme do you either of you want to see in a board game? Theme.
The
Hmm.
Last Starfighter.
Hey, I remember that one.
That would be fun.
So what do I'd like to see Monster Hunter as a board game.
Ooh, that would be a good one too.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
also there's a lot of like animes that I feel like would make really good themes, because there's so much story in those that if somebody could make a thematic story game around some of these themes, then it would be really awesome. I think
yeah.
so.
What's the heaviest Euro game you enjoy? That's a good one. You enjoy playing. So the heaviest Euro game that I enjoy playing. I think Robinson Crusoe is rated pretty high on the complexity or the weight scale on BGG, and that's definitely one of my favorite games. Um, let's see. I enjoy Pipeline quite a bit.
Hmm.
And that's also considered a heavy game. Let's see. Uh, Underwater Cities is also another one I really enjoy. Um, and as well as Terraforming Mars. Although I enjoy both of those. I'm not sure which one I enjoy more. They're both really good.
Hmm.
One of my favorite ones is Yokohama. I really like that. I like Yokohama. Maybe these are like mid to heavyweight
Yeah,
because there's some people have a category
heavy's
for
very
heavy.
just depends on the person you're asking, right? Because
Yeah,
some people will be
yeah,
like,
exactly.
none of those are heavy Euro games, and then other
Right,
people might be like, oh, they're all heavy Euro games. It just
right,
depends
right.
on
Exactly. It
how
depends on what.
heavy the person
Yeah,
who's asking likes, you know?
yeah. Well, I mean, I played things like Mombasa, and which I do enjoy, but the heavier it gets, the I notice that I have a particular tendency that I will start to see mechanisms that I don't feel. I feel like they add complexity without adding uh, the. It doesn't carry its own weight in terms of the fun factor. So I feel like there's a lot of mechanisms that probably could have just been stripped out, and it wouldn't have impacted the enjoyment of the play
Hmm.
as much. So the heavier the game, the more I start to see that. Uh, so actually, Fruit Chain Magnate is one that I really enjoyed, and that's considered a heavier game. Or I guess anything from Splatter is considered pretty heavy. So, but yeah, I do. I guess I'm all over the board in that case. I generally I'm all over the board because I do like light party games, social deduction games, heavy Euro games. I do enjoy all of those. I do tend to be picky with the heavy Euros though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Roy?
Alec,
What is the heaviest Euro you've played?
I was trying to skip over the question. No, I'm just kidding.
I know you're
Uh,
trying to get out of it.
I specifically try not to play too many heavy Euro games. I've played several different ones.
You,
Um,
you
I
actively avoid
like
them.
I like what is it? Age of Empires was pretty good as far as a worker placement goes. That has different Euro pieces. I mean, most of the games that I actually really like are more hybrids that have a lot of thematic stuff going on, but then have solid Euro mechanics involved.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're talking like straight Euro, I've played several. Like I've played like London and stuff like that, which is fine. But I don't know what my favorite heavy Euro game would be. It's hard
Mm.
to say because I normally skew towards extremely fast playing Euros when I play them. Like I really enjoy things that are quick playing and easy to get into. Like, and I enjoy engine building type stuff. Like Wingspan is fun and Gizmos
Yeah,
is extremely light, but I enjoy
yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Like
But for me, I
Gizmos.
like,
Gizmos is great if you like that kind of games.
yeah, but that's not even close to heavy. You know, that's extremely
Yeah,
light.
that's true.
Um,
That's true.
so
Now,
I
do
don't.
Ameritrash games, can they be considered heavy? Like, for instance, would you consider, say, Game of Thrones the board game? I mean, a lot of people would consider that a heavy game, right?
Yeah,
But it's on a
and I mean,
it's in a different context, right?
right. I mean, Twilight Imperium is my second favorite game of all time, and
There
it
you go.
has Euro mechanics, and it's definitely a heavy game. There's lots
That's a
of
heavy game.
rules in
Yeah,
in Twilight Imperium, but I don't think anybody would say Twilight Imperium is a heavy Euro game. You know,
not a
that's
Euro
not what
game.
they're talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
not a
but
Euro game.
uh, but yeah, I enjoy heavy games. I just like it to have a large dose of theme and large doses of interaction with the other players and create memorable experiences, especially if I'm going to invest the time in it.
Yeah, yeah. Dune
Oh,
is also like one of those heavier games too, but
yeah. I don't think the
yeah,
mechanics are too hard in Dune, especially like after we replayed it. I'm like, oh
yeah.
man, I remember how to
I
do
think they
this. You can
streamlined it quite a bit. I think they
Yes.
streamlined the experience. And I think they did a good job with that. So
And it's
enjoyed
definitely
it.
still fun to make it happen.
Yeah.
Alex asked, "Does Descent still hold up with all the cool adventure games now?" Have you played
I
Descent?
Yes, actually, there was a time the co-op mode for it where the app kind of acts as the
Oh
overlord.
yeah, that's
That
fun.
I really really enjoyed. So I think, especially with so many expansion now, there's so much
Hmm.
content out for Descent. I still think it does kind of hold up. In fact, it's kind of like the benchmark. These new games kind of need to be better than Descent if they want to have a place in the market,
Right.
right? So
I
so
like Descent.
anytime
It's
that we
always
see
been
like a
kind
new
of
dungeon,
weird for
oh
me,
yeah,
because I played a lot of role playing games and played a lot of D&D. So it's kind of like, man, first time I played Descent, I was like, man, I just rather be playing a role playing game just because you have so much more options and freedom of choice. Like, I can in Descent, you can't be like, I'm gonna go jump over that wall over there
right,
or
right,
see what's on the other side of it.
yeah,
Um, but in a role playing game, you can just make it up however you want. Since I've been playing a lot more board games than I used to back when I first played Descent, because Descent's been around for quite a while,
yeah.
especially when you're talking about first edition and stuff like that. But I actually enjoy Descent, and especially like you said with the app, when you make it fully co-op, is a lot
Yeah,
of fun and gives you a much different experience, than when
right,
you're
right.
playing with the whole Overlord and all that stuff. But with the amount of content for it, it's definitely fun if you want a role playing ish game experience that you don't have to do the like
Yeah,
overhead prep. There's campaigns already made for it.
right, right. I think I'm kind of in the opposite boat now. Is that I used to really like role-playing games. I was really,
Hmm.
really big into Dungeons and Dragons and the Palladium RPG systems and things like that. But I think now I really enjoy the structure of games, like more dungeon crawler games. I really
Gotcha.
enjoy the structure of it, so that things aren't so like willy-nilly in terms of
Hmm.
the rule set and things like that. Like I know that okay, here are my chances to succeed. This is
Hmm.
what I need, and so forth. So it's a lot more cut and dry, and I think I kind of enjoy that a little bit
Gotcha.
more. So now I've been switching more towards thematic board games over the
Hmm.
RPGs. So, but that's me. And by the way, I just want to apologize for people who posted questions because in the chat I do notice that the questions there'll be a period of time when it will all the questions are visible, and then all of a sudden things scroll up rapidly, and then I
Yeah.
have to kind of scroll back to try to find where we left, and it was difficult. So I
And
know
I'm
that
here
we
trying to
skipped over
follow
some.
like which question did Emerson say, so I can like actually put it up on the screen and be like, oh,
Yeah.
where's it at? Where's it at? Yeah.
So I apologize if you've asked a question and we skipped over. It's only because the chat would sometimes just refresh and all of a sudden I lose my place as to where we were.
Yeah, it
But someone
definitely
was asking
happens.
about adult party games. That's something we haven't covered yet. So what would be I'm not a
Why?
big fan of Cards Against Humanity, but some good adult party games. I would say Codenames After Dark.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I don't normally play the adult games, and I that being a reviewer or like a content creator during
Mhm.
the Cards Against Humanity insanity, we just got so many emails with so many Cards Against Humanity clones, and I literally got one today as well. I'm just like, I thought this was done. I thought I was done having to deal with like emails of people trying to copy Cards Against Humanity, but this time it's Cards Against Humanity mixed with Sorry crickets. Anyway, um, but yeah, I don't normally seek out games that are specifically adult themed. I do enjoy Telestrations, and
Oh
and
yes,
there's a
Telestrations is
Telestrations After
fantastic.
Dark, but I
Mhm.
don't think you need the After Dark version for Telestrations to become After Dark
Yeah,
because it
I
always
don't think you
does.
need the After Dark version.
uh,
So
but yeah,
you could just make up your
it's
own words, really.
yeah, or just like when you see a picture, just do the strangest description of it just to see what the next person draws. I don't
Right,
know.
right, right. I mean, I think
uh,
it'll be fun if just each person will write a word and just hand it to the person to their right or to their left, so that
they have to draw it.
yeah, they have to draw it. I think
Uh,
that'll be a lot of
I
fun.
have not played a game of Telestrations without crying from laughter, just because like
Yes,
that game is so hilarious. I'm just like,
it is.
what, what, and like I'm
Yeah.
just crying because I'm laughing so hard, and
Yeah.
it's not really a real game. It's more of an activity, but I've just always had a blast playing it. But
Yeah,
some of them have gotten into the weeds sometimes, pretty bad. So
yeah. Telestrations, that's a fantastic game. A fantastic activity game doesn't matter. You're having fun. That's all that matters, right? It's a barrel of fun. Love it. So,
I have
Robin
no
is
clue where you
asking,
are in questions.
do I have a YouTube channel with work in progress games? No, but I actually thought about that. I do have I actually have two YouTube channels that are very on and off, but one of them I was posting videos on how to use the World of Warcraft add-ons that I had written.
There you go.
But that's really old because I haven't written add-ons for a while. Um, oh, funny story. I met some folks that were working at Blizzard at
Hmm.
Dice Tower West, and I happened to run into someone who actually is like the user interface designer. So
Oh, nice.
just which is really really cool. The other YouTube channel I have is just a Monster Hunter related one, so I put speed runs on Monster Hunter up on that one.
Do
So,
you
but
have
I
the
should
top
probably
speed?
have one with that shows kind of like work in progress games. I think that'd be kind of cool. If there's people that are interested in doing it, I'd probably post it up.
I think that's pretty interesting. Like the whole like being very transparent with what you're working on and like
Yeah,
talking through the process and stuff. I wonder
yeah,
whether that helps or hurts project, because a lot of times, sometimes depending on the publisher, they might not want things to be as known until it's released, things like
right.
that. But you're never it's very interesting because I think that if you have like people that are really interested in your stuff, and as you grow along, like Plaid Hat back in the day used to talk about all of their stuff forever, and they actually just started
Yeah,
spinning up the Plaid Hat podcast again, um,
that's fantastic. Yeah.
to start talking about what they're doing behind the scenes and how things are
Are they
doing. And
gonna
I
hire
feel
you?
like
Are they gonna have you do the theme song with them?
Alex
Because
actually
you played
redid a
that
new
theme
theme
song.
song, which is pretty cool. But I did actually
Uh,
just have Colby. He's going to be on the next episode of Spaces Between. And we talked a little bit about me having done the theme song forever ago.
yes.
Um,
Yeah. Do you still have that video posted?
it's on my Twitter. It's pretty embarrassing, but
Okay.
there's
Okay.
actually an old Plaid Hat podcast forever ago, which I don't think you can even get access to the old ones anymore. But back before I ever did board game media, before I ever
Yeah.
tried to do any of that stuff, I had made just like a fan song of the Plaid Hat podcast, which is funny. But Jamie Stegmaier is also very transparent. I mean, he doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
announce
It's
what
true.
games are coming, but he always talks about what's going on in the company and things that are
Yeah.
happening. And I feel like a lot of people become not just a fan of the games or a fan of the publisher itself, but a fan of the like people behind it. And I feel like it's really cool to interact with the consumer and the people that you're are consuming your product and enjoying your games. And I think it just means so much more when you
Yeah.
can bring that transparency in there. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
who knows?
My favorite solo board game. I know this is a cop out answer, but Robinson Crusoe because I think I've played that game. So normally I don't play board games solo, but that
Gotcha.
game I have played solo because I enjoyed it that much.
For me, I've been playing a ton of Marvel Champions solo. So I normally get the new deck in or whatever, and play it a bunch against several of the different bad guys. And I've been doing reviews of that up on the channel as well.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, it's just really quick to play, so it makes it easy for me to just throw it on the table and play it
Yeah,
solo.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I know that the what was it Ornirim,
Mm-hmm.
Sylveon, that series I heard is really really good, and I have those. I just haven't gotten it to the table yet.
Well, that
So
was funny because you know how
to
Z.
Alex, Sword and Shield right now is really really strong, especially that perfect question. This is a Monster Hunter reference, but
Ah,
Sword and
gotcha.
Shield is really really good. I haven't been playing it too much because I'm more of a we're a range weapon player. Uh, but yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Dr. Mask is asking, is there any games that I put on the shelf and later got published? Let me think about that. I would have to say not yet. Not yet, but I think there's a couple that may have come close.
Is it because you never put any games on the shelf?
No, I've definitely put some games on the shelf for sure that I have, but I have been later revisiting them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good chance that one of those games that I had put on the shelf may be getting picked up.
Are there any?
So
How many games would you say you have that you've designed or you had an idea for and started working on like a prototype or something like that, that you have completely scrapped, that you're like, this is going in the trash can at this point?
Oh, I don't think I've ever taken anything and put it into the trash can. Uh, so I've had games that, I've had playtests go incredibly poorly, but I feel like each one has, because I always think of games as like ingredients, right? So you're making a dish with these ingredients. Um, that I think I can reuse some of those ingredients.
Oh,
Maybe
for
the,
sure.
the combination of those ingredients didn't taste very good,
Mhm.
but I think individually I could take it apart, salvage it, and put it into something else to see if there's something there. Kind of like Legos, right? You build something with those Legos, but then you don't like the end product. You can just take apart those Legos and use them for something else.
Mhm.
So I don't think I've ever put the whole thing in the trash.
Gotcha. But there are several games you have scrapped.
Yes, there's the actual concepts, that I
Right.
have
You
kind
definitely
kind
keep
of
and
abandoned because I think I've gone as far with that idea as I can, and
mhm.
I just don't think I could take that idea any farther. So, Beasts of Balance, I've only heard of that game, but I haven't actually tried it. But it's got a cool app integration piece.
Yeah, I would like to try it just because the app stuff looks super cool,
Yeah, yeah.
and I do like stacking games, so that'd be fun.
All right.
I'm trying to figure
Spice
out where you
Roads.
are in the comments so I can put them up on the screen. I might just have to randomly pick a place and start doing it again.
Yeah. Kingdom Death is Monster Hunter. I'm not sure. I haven't played Kingdom Death. So take this with a grain of salt, um but I'm not sure if it's like the same type of experience. Uh Definitely Kingdom Death is a lot darker for sure. It's much more adult. So
Ooh. Um, on BGG Century, they're talking about the rankings of both of them. Do
yeah.
you have a favorite? Do you like one over the other of Gollum Edition or Spice Road Edition?
Ooh,
Can you
that's really
pick in between your two exact same games, just different looks? Do you actually enjoy one look over the other?
so I think the art on both is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
So the one thing about the Golem edition that might push it higher is because each of the market cards actually shows you what's being traded. I thought that was a fantastic touch. So
Mhm.
every card is unique, as opposed to Spice Road. The cards, so the art for those cards takes more effort to
Mhm.
create those, or it took longer. So therefore, each they couldn't make it unique for every single market card.
Right.
Um, but in both cases, I think that the art is fantastic. But the Gollum, that little touch just pushes the Gollum edition just a bit higher for me.
For me, aquarium fish rock crystals beats cubes every day. But I
Yeah,
will play both anytime because I like both so much. Because they're the
a
same thing.
good Mad Max game. I think Restoration Games has been asked to put what was the name? Thunder Alley? No, Thunder Road.
Emerson, you're talking.
So I heard. I know nothing, but I
Somebody's
think
gonna
that's.
jump through some screen somewhere and karate chop Emerson in some throats.
I didn't say it was coming out or anything. I'm not confirming anything. I'm just saying that I think that would be a cool
Oh yeah,
Mad
for
Max
sure.
game, right?
Somebody tell them to
So,
do that.
so
Let's
for an
see.
Indiana Jones game, I think that's the most Fortune and Glory, maybe.
That would be pretty
Or could
cool.
it be Adventurers, the Temple
Yeah,
of Shop?
adventurers feel very much like Indiana
The
Jones, right? With the boulder and everything.
yeah, the Boulder, yes.
I would love to see an Jones style game, but like a sandboxy one where you're going around all over the place and trying to do artifacts and solve puzzles or something. I don't know. I don't know how
Yeah,
you could do it, but it would be really cool to see
that
something
would be
that really gives you that feel.
yeah, yeah, that would be cool.
I
Uh,
think I think Eldritch Horror has a little bit of Indiana Jones feel to it. Just
Eldritch
because
Hunt.
you're
Yeah,
globe hopping all over the globe and trying to fulfill these different quests and stuff like that, and you get all sorts of items and relics and things like
yes.
that.
So instead of gates and those unspeakable horrors, you're fighting the Nazis, and there you go. I think you got it.
Yeah, it would be very similar if it was sort of the same sort of thing. Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
really cool if they had an Indiana Jones actual IP. That'd be great. Crokinole Legacy. I don't know how
Crokinole
you do that.
Legacy. Do you like break the pins off? I mean,
Yeah, you break the
you
pins
put
off,
different
and
obstacles on.
maybe you can unlock different sized discs, or maybe you can unlock like an extra sand packet to sprinkle across the board to make it like easier to flick your. I don't know how they do it. You
All
Let's
right.
see.
I'm a hardcore. I've lost my place, by the way. It's scrolled up, and I have no idea where I am. Uh, so
Let's see. I can
I'm a
add
hardcore
something.
ASL player. If that's American Sign Language, I'm not sure. If it's Advanced Squad Leader, no, I'm not a hardcore Advanced Squad Leader player either. So what could that mean? Huh. I
Oh,
think it
somebody
means
said you were a big ASL player.
yes. So
Yeah.
I'd like to try it. I know that Bart Brunchy, who was big into war games,
Hmm.
and I was on his podcast, and he said that I think it was him that mentioned that it's a really good starting point. He'd think that I would really enjoy it, and I'd like to try it too.
Yeah.
So um,
I know
yeah, I
Joe
think both
Stedman's
are
big into
fascinating.
ASL, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know.
yes, Magic the Gathering is the most complicated game out there. You're probably right. That has the most mechanical interactions and possible interactions of any game out there. So I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
By the way, I love Magic the Gathering. As a game, I absolutely love it. I don't like the fact that I have to spend so much money to
Hmm.
play that game.
Me and
So,
Tom played Magic this week. I think on Tuesday, and we played the what was it? It was like a mix of the unhinged. It was like unsanctioned or whatever, and we played a card that says start a new game with 5 life underneath the table, and it's called Enter the Dungeon. So I made Tom crawl underneath the table to play a new game of Magic, and hilarity
I
ensued.
I remember this. That's from Arabian Nights, isn't it? Where you have to play a game under the table, or you have to start a new game, right?
That I think it's from one of the unsets, like one of the unglued or unhinged or
Oh,
un.
okay.
This
Well, the
is
first one was
this.
Unhinged. No, Unglued was the first one. Then it
Gotcha.
was Unhinged. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
hilarious. I love those.
Oh man, but it made it such a difficult game to play because it was just so much wacky stuff that it's just like, yeah, but how do we actually like hurt each other?
Have we tinkered with the Descent app? I don't think. I mean, I've used it when we play the co-op version of it. I think it's really really good. I will bring this up again. I wish Fantasy Flight would put an undo button in there.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So I've even actually mentioned this to some folks at Asmodee as well. Mostly teasing though.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually played some of it with my son, and we played through some of the Descent stuff, which was pretty fun.
What was the first board game I ever created? It was actually a game called Vault, which I have up on the shelf over there. So that
That's
was
the new
my
edition of
first.
Volta, right?
Yes, I actually have the old and the new next to each other over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first board game. I made a card game before that, but that was my first real board game, and it got republished by Heidelberg, which
Mm.
is now producing the new version of it.
We're not going to talk about your first Gen Con experience, though,
My first Gen Con experience.
or your first Gen Con booth experience.
Yeah, oh well, yeah. We probably shouldn't get into that, right? You said family friendly, right?
Family friendly.
Family friendly.
This is the Dice Tower.
Oh, do I ever want to play the role of banker in Monopoly? Hmm. I don't know. It's been so long.
I
Maybe.
mean, it's not
Is it?
that
That's a
hard
answer.
because that's just the person who's in charge of doing the change, right? So you still get to play the game. You don't have to just be the banker, you
Well,
know.
I guess that's true. I guess
So
that's true.
it's not like a an all versus one game or whatever. But if they made a Monopoly version that was all versus one and the banker was the arch enemy, it might be more interesting.
Yeah. If you have the overlord, like
The
it's a
Overlord,
one versus many game, or you have the
exactly.
banker versus the other players. The bankers, the bankers'
Trying to figure out a way to
objective is to
bankrupt
get
everybody.
yeah exactly to bankrupt everyone, right? That would be interesting. Oh, I mentioned strip. So Nick's asking. I've mentioned stripping or pitching ideas with a stripped down theme.
Hmm.
Oh, I lost it. Where'd it go?
Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, I found it. Okay. How are ideas protected in game publishing industry? Are there people like literary agents? Uh, I don't think there's really a concept of protecting ideas because ideas really are just a dime a dozen.
Hmm.
There are designs. Designs are a culmination and uh, of mechanics that work together to create a particular experience. So that's something that can be protected by copyright.
Right.
So, but as a designer, usually when we pitch to a publisher, we most of the time we have no fears of ideas being stolen or the need to protect ideas. So, so
It's
that
such a
really
small
hasn't been an
industry
issue.
that it'd be hard to, you know, I it'd be very bad PR for a publisher to be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. We don't want that game," and then go make the game. That would
Right,
be
right, exactly,
rough.
exactly. Yeah, the publishers will just lose too much by doing that.
Hmm. So,
Let's see.
and with people like Emerson, they would love to be able to put your name on the box, right? So they're like, "Oh, it's an Emerson design. Oh my goodness."
Well, I'm not sure if my name carries that much weight.
It
So,
does,
uh,
for sure. I'm not a fanboy. I
Twister.
don't know what you're talking about.
I'm looking for the questions, and the question is Twister. So John's asking Twister. How do you
That's just it.
respond?
That's the question.
I'm pretty sure I'm taking it out of context because the chat kind of flew up. But I was
Oh,
just looking for the question. So, what do you say to Twister?
no, I'm good.
That's a dexterity game.
Yeah, not nah. Yeah, just gonna leave that one.
Does anyone
uh,
here like financial board games? So, when you say financial, do you mean economic board games?
Probably.
Yeah, there's definitely economic, like for instance, stockpile,
Hmm.
speculation. If you're referring to those kind of games, yeah, I definitely do enjoy those kinds of games. Um, I do terribly in games where money is your victory points because I tend to like to spend the money. So I do particularly bad, but I do enjoy them though.
Gotcha. You
Yeah,
get to distracted with the shiny stuff, and you're like, "I'll buy the things." Oh
yeah,
wait.
exactly. Exactly. I remember I came in second in a game called Chicago Express. And the only reason is because I kept on getting outbid on all the stocks.
Hmm.
And then the game in trigger came suddenly, and I just could not win any auctions. And I ended up second just because I had
Your
money.
money that you started with.
That's basically like the money I started with.
That is a crazy game if you can do nothing and come in
Well,
second.
I tried to do something. I tried to buy stocks. I just kept on
But that
getting out.
means all the other players who managed to buy stuff did such a poor job that they ended up worse off than they would have been if they had also done nothing.
I think the game end coming so quickly was what threw everything off.
Gotcha,
And,
gotcha.
and there might be a
People
chance that we
weren't
can
able to
play
be
them.
paid out for their stocks they had.
Yeah. So speaking of financial board games, right, or economic games, there is one that I really, really enjoyed, and that's Raccoon Tycoon. I really enjoyed that game.
Oh,
So if
nice.
you have, so I highly recommend that one. If you're looking for like a stock-ish kind of game, it's not so much like a very heavy stock game, but that one it does definitely has that stock element to it. And that one's really, really fun. I really enjoyed that one.
I played a game. I played it with Sam and them. It was called like Irish Gauge or something like that. It's like a really light train game, but it has like you buy stocks and you try to make these different railroads and stuff like that. And I normally that sort of game is not my sort of thing, just because I'm making a railroad and stocks and stuff. I know a lot of people really enjoy that sort of thing, but
Hmm.
I was just happy because I by and far won that game, and I'm like, yeah, I can win games when it's not really the thing that I'm into, but I can still do good at it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, Blizzard characters for Funkoverse would be really cool.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
They could
So that's
have a never-ending supply almost.
yeah. I mean, with Funkoverse, because they can, yeah, they made such an open system. You can really have anything in that, which is great.
So Emerson, what is your favorite game with asymmetry in it?
With asymmetry in it. Favorite game with asymmetry. Huh.
And you get more points for the more asymmetrical you go.
Well, I wish I could say Root or Vest, but I haven't played either one of those. So
Ah, those are
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. Uh, Gosh.
For me, I really enjoy War of the Ring just because the win conditions for that game are
Yeah.
so different. Like
Right.
as the shadow player, you're trying to take over these strongholds from the heroes, and as the
Right.
heroes, you're trying to just hold on long enough to be able to get to the cracks of doom
Right. Right.
and not have Frodo be corrupted. But as the shadow player, you can also try to corrupt Frodo. So there's like multiple different ways to win that are completely different depending on the side. But there's also a chance that the
Hmm.
heroes could take over enough strongholds for them to win as well. Probably not
Right.
very likely, unless
Hmm.
the shadow player is playing like an insane person. Um, I played with my uncle once, and he just left a whole bunch of strongholds open. And I'm just like, well, I guess I walk in and take these, you know. But um, but yeah,
Um,
it's extremely asymmetrical.
right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have a mental block in terms of asymmetric games where uh,
There's
I
like
don't think
completely
Trader
different
games
win
would count.
conditions. Yeah,
Like
I mean,
in Winter, the Betrayer has a different objective, but that's not really an asymmetric game.
right. I mean, there's lots of games that I mean, like Dune is very asymmetrical as well, and there are slight different win advantages
Yeah.
depending
Well,
on who you're playing
I
as.
think that's variable player powers, right? That's
Right?
not
Yeah,
really
not
symmetry.
as
Is it?
asymmetrical. Yeah.
Yes. So, ooh, that is a really tough one.
Have you played Star Wars Rebellion?
I have. Oh, that's the one then. I
It's
really
real
love
good.
Star Wars Rebellion. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's extremely different depending on the side you're
Yes.
playing. You know, I
Yes.
mean, you're playing completely different games, even though they're both using the same like worker. It's not really worker placement, but like hero placement going on missions. Both sides are
Yeah.
using that, but the win
Yeah.
conditions are completely different.
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed playing Rebellion, and I think I have like 14 plays of Rebellion. It's one that's hard to get because it's only two players. Yes, the box says two to four players, but it's really a two-player game, and it's definitely asymmetric, and it is a fantastic game. But it's always a game that takes us 4 or 5 hours, so it's also another reason we don't get to play it as often. But that said, I still have 14 plays of it. Still really enjoy that one. Where are you in the queue?
Okay, I'm going to randomly select the winner for our contest here for the game
Oh,
of century. So let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and pick one of these to be announced randomly. Let me randomize it real quick. And all right. So the winner is Brent Kite. I will get with you and let you know. And so that way you can. I will make sure Plan B is able to send the game out to you. But he actually wanted the Golem Eastern Mountains. Dun, dun,
oh,
dun. So the newest Golem game there. I definitely want to say thank you so much to Plan B for making the contest that we could have so that one of you could win a game. And I've heard these Century games are good. I don't know who designs them or anything, but they're pretty good.
all right. Robin's got a question about when designing a game, do I have a clear picture of the art? Usually I have a vision for the game. So I have an idea of what the aesthetics might look like,
Mm-hmm.
or like an idea of what the theme and the just the general feel and aesthetics will be. But I never really hire an artist to do that. Usually the publisher will do that. But sometimes I'll pick clip art, throw something together just to make it presentable and also just to give a hint of what the theme and the art direction could be. So I think the most that I've done was with Century Spice Road. I actually gave Plaid Hat a sort of like a color palette. So I had a color palette and also just a quick sketch of what I wanted the cover to look like and so forth. But also at that time, I was actually thinking that it would be a game that I would publish myself. So that's why I went through that effort of creating the color palette and the fonts and everything like that. So, but that's really as far as I've gotten. But nowadays, since I do focus mostly on design, that I just leave the aesthetics and the art to the publishers, because a lot of times the publishers want the art and the aesthetics of the game to fit their line. So, like Queen Game is like a really good example. So, if you look at a Queen game, they all have a very similar aesthetics, like the way that they have the flowing yellow line that goes across all their boxes. So each company has like a very particular look that they're going for. It's part of their branding and marketing.
That's awesome. Well, I think we should slowly wrap this thing up. I know we still have tons of questions, but sorry we weren't able to get to everything.
Sorry if we didn't get to
I'll have to talk Tom into letting you come back on sometime, because we got a bunch of awesome people asking questions all over the place.
Yeah. But, a lot of really good questions.
But yeah, just thank you everybody for coming out and showing up. There's definitely been a ton of people watching, and it's been a lot of fun. I hope everybody is having a great time and able to just stay positive in these times, and just make sure to talk with your friends and family, and just try to focus on the awesome things we have. So I do want to say thank you to Emerson for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
And hopefully we'll be able to have you on more things. And I did do an episode with Emerson of Spaces Between, so if you didn't get enough Death Stranding talk in this Q&A, you can go check that out, where we talk even more about Death Stranding. But thanks everybody for joining us, and I guess we'll see you guys on something in the future.
Yeah.
Bye everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.